the expectations, the labels, the societal conditioning. What does it truly mean to become you? I'm John Fleming, the founder and lead practitioner of Becoming You. I created Becoming You out of a desire to share my own experience of becoming myself and to support others who are curious about who they are. From a young age, I have been driven by a desire to figure out who I am, why I'm here, and how I can belong while being myself. And this is the Becoming You podcast. Conversations about uncovering, embracing, and being your true self. Here, I deep dive into what it means and what is required to live life as your most authentic self. Through real, honest, and grounded conversations with professionals and people who are walking the path. If you're curious about identity, authenticity, and personal freedom, yours or others, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Michelle, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here. Michelle, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Yes. I'd like to start in my own language, in Portuguese, saying, eu sou a Michelle, eu sou brasileira. I'm Michelle, I'm a Brazilian, who met TA in 2013. And I know that the reason that I'm here is because we have TA in common.
Yes. Yeah. For those of you listening who don't know what TA is, it stands for Transactional Analysis, which is a psychosocial psychology that Michelle and I have both trained in and have fortunately become friends as a result of.
Yes. I think it's the best part for me when we have something so healthy in common that we can share and we can have as a language in our friendship.
Absolutely. And just even getting to make friends all over the world. The fact that I have a friend in Brazil who I've never met in person, not yet, although hopefully that will change this year, is amazing. A way of connecting people around the world.
Yeah. I was thinking in this question about who am I today?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think I'm much more connect with the way that I'm choosing to live my life in general, in many aspects, not only professionally. And I think TA is something that is around these different aspects in my life. And then I think this is the reason that I decided to start saying that I'm part of this community.
Yeah, it's like finding your tribe.
Yeah. And something that is amazing for me is a global tribe that is growing and is developing together. And I really know that I can contribute. This is important. It's not something that it's done and it is the way that it is. And if I can contribute, I can suggest something.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's like ever evolving. Lovely. So, Michelle, I have a question from our last guest. So his question to you is, if the most well-rounded person in the world was a cake, and the cake had to be mixed and baked and decorated and all of this, his question to you was, what would be the most important ingredient in that cake and why?
Fortunately, I love cakes.
Good.
But I'm thinking here, if the answer is about the metaphor or not, but I will decide. I start with the metaphor of the cake. And I'm saying now that I understanding more about nutrition, I say that the eggs is the most important part because the protein involved. And translating this for some characteristics of the personality, maybe can fit, or integrating integrating all the others ingredients together. Because you have the possibility of the eggs to involve flavor and chocolate and giving some kind of flavor or it. And I can say maybe using the best parts of the other parts.
I really like that, because what you're saying is that if we translate the metaphor, what you're saying is that integration is the most important ingredient in becoming a well-rounded person.
And having in mind the concept of the integrating adult by Summers and Tudor, that we can have the contribution for parent ego states and child ego states not fixed.
I love that answer. I'm a bit biased because I'm always harping on about how integration in personal development is like the lost, forgotten relation or the undervalued aspect. Like I often say when I'm training coaches or supervising coaches, that what your client does after the session in how they integrate what took place in the session or on the retreat or during the workshop is actually often more important than what happened during the work. That how they make sense of it and how they integrate that sense and experience is so key.
Yeah, hearing you, John, like connecting with the real experience and then what we keep from this experience. And if I can really integrate what I'm thinking, feeling, my perspective of the reality and the sense of others, the sense of the environment, it's a lot. And of course, if you are in a place with others, with a chair, and that you have a good posture because your back needs this, it's a lot of stimulus, a lot of to integrate.
A lot, yeah, every day. Well, I will tag Luke. It was Dr. Luke Bearden who asked you that question, who's a professor at Sheffield Hallam University in the UK and specialises in autism. So I will tag him when your episode publishes so that he can hear your response. Okay, so Michelle, we're obviously here on the Becoming You podcast to talk about becoming you in all its forms. So who have you been becoming in your life?
Yeah. My journey is to be myself, and that I don't know yet fully about it, but I'm certainty I'm in my way, and I'm living my 50s these days, and it's not about the number, but I think it's 5 is my favorite number that I like. 50s is a beautiful number for me, but it's not about the number, but it's about the sense of could be more than a half life. And what I'm realizing, John, and I understanding about my process is that I'm not more living, having the end in mind. I'm living today, having today in mind, having more the presence of the now, the here and now. For example, until recently, my 40s something, I was more interested in the goals, in the end. That could be a number in the bank account, could be some specific achievement in my professional life, could be married or not, have children or not, visit specific places around. And of course, I'm still have plans, but it's more connect with, for example, I was looking for some discounts in flight tickets. Yeah. And then I was having fun at that moment, trying to guess the names of the airports. And then it was a fun moment. It was not only a task to buy something to August, to December. It's the action is the same, but but the how is different. And the perception of the moment is different. And then it's for almost everything, like something usual, take a shower, more pleasure time, taking a shower, understanding, wow, I have everything that I need to do it right now. Feeling the water in a perfect temperature. It's small things. And I'm mentioning take a shower because I think in my private world, I'm known to be someone who can just stay 2 minutes, in 3 minutes, I'm ready. Yeah, because was like, okay, take a shower is not the moment. The moment is after. Get ready for after. And now I need time to take a shower.
It's like savoring every moment.
Took decades to be in this place that my judgment right now is that is better than used to be.
And in those decades, Michelle, of getting to where you are now, how has your relationship with yourself evolved?
I'm more gentle with myself. I still have my moments with criticism, and I think became more fast to identify what I'm doing is not okay for me, then poof, move on and embrace what is needed to put away this negative aspect. Yeah.
I was touched when you said a while ago I was having fun guessing the names of the airports because I rightly or wrongly imagined you being on your own online looking at flights and having a moment internally where you were like, this is fun. I'm enjoying my relationship with myself while I play this game.
Exactly. And it's fun because you say, AS, what the hell is the airport? You know, the flight connections. Because sometimes to pay less, if your direction is this way, you need to go down and then to save some dollars.
This feels like a good moment to shift the conversation to what we were here to talk about, which is money, because of course we were also already talking about money because you were talking about purchasing plane tickets and saving money. And I'm really curious, Michelle, about how money impacts who we are, our relationship with ourselves, our identity, which for a lot of us, not for everybody in the world, but for a lot of us is a huge focus point because most of us have grown up in capitalist societies. But of course, that doesn't apply to every country or to every person. So I guess some cultures or countries will have very different relationships with money. And I want to acknowledge that there will be difference. And yet money is still, or the idea of money, this ability to trade or barter, is something that we, or most of us, have to contend with as we grow up in the world. So I'm curious about your thinking.
I'm with you, John. I think this is one of the main topics in my life. And I can say that first, the topic chose me. And later, I consciously decide to investigate more and to be more aware and to offer for my clients this topic as a way to develop themselves. My work regarding money, it's about the script and usually the transgenerational script, and money in the Eric Burns terms has a medium to the script payoff. And I start to thinking money in this way, I think 2 decades ago, when I unexpectedly lost some money in my private world, and was a traumatic episode, and I couldn't explain to myself what happened. And then I think was my curiosity to see what is going on and what is money for me. And then I decide to think. I start thinking about money, and then was more about feeling money, what it represents in terms of, could be a parallel, how I treat my life. My life sometimes is not myself. Yeah, you can have yourself and you can have the life that you'd like to live. A parallel between how I treat my life and how I treat the money, the consideration, and all the aspects from my ancestors that sometimes I had the opportunity to live with grandparents and my parents or grandparents, uncles. Sometimes it's about the community, something more geographical, some aspects, cultural aspects, and my bank account could be. And then I was connecting slowly. I was connecting this information about myself, having this support in my psychotherapy process. And my main goal was understand what happened with me years ago. And then when makes sense in a way, was enough for my needs that time. Then I was in a workshop in Peru with Gloria Noriega, and she was presenting the transgenerational script questionnaire. And that day was about another characteristics in our personality, but I was answering the questionnaire with money in mind and investigating money around my ancestors. And then I remember some episodes from the past, sentences from a grandparent or from my mother or from my father. And then I was understanding, whoa, this is my strong beliefs. This is about patterns that now I can recognize.
Michelle, you mentioned a few things there from the world of TA that some people might not be familiar with, so we might just take a quick look back over them. The first thing you mentioned is script. If you were to give a kind of a basic explanation or definition of what script is, how would you describe script to somebody who'd never heard of it before?
Yeah, a script, it's like some early decisions that mainly unconscious, that when we are in our first childhood, because all the influences and the learnings at that time, we decided, yeah, unconsciously, that to be loved, to be accepted, this is the way that I'm being. And we can preserve these characters for forever.
And then what script payoff?
The script payoff is, it's like the payment. It's a payment to maintain these early decisions. And what became more clear for me was not from Eric Berne, but was something that I learned with Bert Hellinger, who presented family constellations years ago. And he said in a workshop when I met him that this script payoff we can translate like very, very comfortable place. It's not good for me, but it's comfortable because I'm doing what I already expect, the family many times expects to, the system expects. To do something different, to have a new decision, to do a real change, then it's something different from my script. This is this process that I'm putting my energy around 12 years. Yeah. to do differently. Yeah. And then it's not comfortable. And people close to me disapprove it many times because it's against expectations or it's different from a pattern that it's well known and accept.
I find that really useful to grasp hold of and hang on to, because I often hear people in my private world say things like, why don't they just change? Or they should just change, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, from the outside it might seem like that makes total sense. Logically, it's very rational, very conscious, yeah, okay, why don't they? But the thing that often gets discounted is that they're in their script. They're in this comfortable place where they're continuously getting script payoff for being loyal to their limiting beliefs.
Loyalty. Yeah.
And it's very hard, or it can be very hard, to break out of that.
Exactly. I was saying about this parallel between lies and between money. And I remember that my first insight when I lost the money was that I was using myself because I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday or 2 days ago. I lost myself. The simple things. I didn't pay attention on my money that time. I didn't check the bank account for a while. I didn't take care of the money. And I didn't taking care of my life. And the other's life around me was very nice. And I was contributing. And took some time to realize that my purpose being life here is primarily about myself. And then being gentle and with compassion with myself, I can contribute with others. And I think could appear simple, for me was not.
I'm curious. I think it's a quote, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think I've heard somebody say it before. Did Eric Byrne say that the quickest way to find out what somebody's script is through their relationship with money?
I didn't find this quote. What I found, it's quote saying that not the quickest way, but a way to go to the script are money, tissues, and other thing. Three words. Money, tissues, and something. If I remember, I share with you. Yeah. And this sentence is part of the glossary on the Hello book. What you say after you say hello. Eric Byrne's book. Yeah.
And why, from your experience of your own relationship with money and working with other people on their relationship with money, why do you think money is such a hot topic when it comes to script and in how people relate in the world and how they make sense of their identity? What is it about money that really gets people?
For me, it's about this ambiguity. There is something that appears and some part not is more regarding my intimacy. And it's part of the daily life. Doesn't matter which place do you live. You have something that could not be like dollars or euros, but could be some products that means money or work. But it's something for me connect with transactions and stimulus and responses. And another aspect is it's connect with what is worth in life. Could be self-worth, but the subjectivity about and differences about value and price.
Yeah, I guess everybody has a money story.
And not individually only, but in family systems too. Yeah. Sometimes it's about the history of the city, sometimes about the country, historic aspects involving money, involving robberies, corruption. Here in Brazil, it's usual we see on newspaper a question. It's a life worth R$2, that is less than $1. Yeah. Why? This question is a headline for a story that a guy with a bicycle that was assaulted, and then they had only R$2 and the guy killed him because there's R$2. Then we know that it's not about the value of the money that we are discussing, is about the value of the life, and maybe the self-value of this person who was in this despair situation, needing R$2 and killing someone. Then I think money, it's a complex subject, and go deep in this exploration can tell us about the self-worth and the transaction with others, the value of life.
I was thinking when you said a while ago about, family systems and that it could mean different things in different families, how in my family, money was definitely used as a currency of love. So I definitely had the interpretation growing up that the more money my parents gave me, the more they loved me. And not because that was ever said, not because somebody said that, but it was how I interpreted it, And also, there was a really big drive in my family to make money, to be successful, to build something for yourself. This capitalist dream. Yeah. So it was like my parents were of the generation in Ireland where their ancestors had lived very poor lives, sometimes under British rule, colonization, sometimes it was a famine. And they really had the first opportunity, I think, to be successful and make money. So it became a focus. And this also happens, right? When countries begin to change economically, because that's what happened in Ireland. Ireland joined the European Union. And after Ireland joined the European Union, it became possible to become a bigger economy, a more successful economy. It became possible for people to earn money like they never had the ability to do before. So I guess also something can happen in a country or a family that changes the relationship with money very dramatically. Like I'm thinking at the moment about Trump's tariffs. This is a big moment in the world right now about money. And all the countries thinking, what are we going to do and how are we going to respond? And essentially they're all talking about one thing. They're all talking about money.
Yeah. Listen, I was connect with your personal story, and you mentioned love has a currency, and I was questioning myself if I have this experience, some relationship that, and I'm not, then I don't know how it is to develop a relationship with money as a synonym to love. It's very interesting, John. And connecting onto you are mentioning about your country, Ireland can be a country full of love nowadays. It's much more love than in the past.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's a lot of social changes here. And at a time, I do think that money definitely was a currency of love, not just in my family, but in a lot of places. Because Ireland was repressed. The people were repressed. The culture was oppressed. You know, all of it was stifled down. So I think we're still recovering the ability to express ourselves. And some of the things that you express as love or care. And it became obvious to me when I became an adult that the way my mum and dad expressed their love or care was by putting money in my bank account. I could see how clearly that it was something would happen in my life and my mum would say, I put 50 euros in your account. Go buy yourself something nice. And on the surface, it was like, oh, lovely. But I began to realize that this was her way of saying, I love you. She couldn't say it, but she could give me money.
In another way, yeah, exactly. John, I remember the third word that I was looking for in the Burns quote to go to the script payoff. Tissues, money, and words.
What's the first word? Is it tissues?
Tissues, when you are crying, and you need tissues.
That's so interesting. Byrne was very strange about some of the things he said. Tissues and words feel a bit abstract. Money I understand because I think I often pick up myself when speaking to people. Once we have to have a conversation about money, their script will become very present very quickly. You know, I might say, well, it's going to cost this, and people will go, you know, or other people will have a completely different response, you know, so it might be the same amount of money and somebody else will go, oh, that's cheap. So we all have perspectives, which for us are our reality, but there is no single truth about what one person thinks is expensive, another person thinks is good value. It's so interwoven into our perspective of our own worth, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and something that usually change when we in different phases of our life. Yeah, if we are earning some amount in some period of life, could be a scarcity position. Yeah, but then later could be about sufficiency or about abundance. But I disagree with you, John.
That's okay.
I disagree because tissues for me, it's a way to go to the script payoff. And I can easily relate to my own story because many times I put efforts and do something with good intentions. And in the end, I was crying because I was excluded or I felt I was not good enough in this way, the tissues. And words, for me, makes sense. And probably because as a journalist, I'm taking care of the words since the beginning. My father was a journalist, then I had the same idea. And then a word sentence is very important for me since I started to speak and write. And I can say, especially with my clients, that of course it's easy to analyze others. The self-narrative, the words that they are saying spontaneously says a lot about the script payoff. And of course, I'm being interested in money more and more, but words, especially the self-narrative, is something that definitely gives more than clues for our early decisions.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I see it in people who I meet, friends or family members or clients. Often that criticism stretches beyond just themselves. It might be highly critical of self, but then also, you know, things like always complaining about the price of things. It's very expensive. Can't believe that's so expensive. It's ridiculous. It's so expensive. And this kind of, for me, becomes inflamed. It's like a wound that you don't take care of. and it becomes more and more angry. And then actually sometimes it wheels out of control. Because if you believe something is expensive, then it is. But if you believe it isn't, it isn't. There's no truth. It's not a mathematical equation, really. It's a perspective on reality. And I'm also curious about this idea of money being a currency of energy. Do you have a perspective on this?
When you say energy, it's about elements of the universe. What you mean about the energy? Life energy?
Elements of the universe, like that money needs to flow. And that
You know,
that it gets, sometimes people get into patterns of hoarding money, keeping it all here because of scarcity, or on like pushing it, just spend. And it's like these are two polarizations. They're like two extremes. And for me, how I have made sense of my own, or have begun to make sense of my own money story, because I don't think I have it figured out fully, is that I need to be doing both. There needs to be an exchange, a transaction, and that this is a continuous process, and that problems occur when that process speeds up too much or slows down too much.
yeah, thank you. I understanding what your question now. I'm taking consideration the energy of the money from myself, dealing with money, my money. And I like to emphasize my money, because I can decide if my money can be your money now, and I can ask your money for me in a transaction saying, I can offer this, and in exchange, I want your money. In my workshops about money, usually I explore the concept of abundance. That usually is what people are interested to go to a money workshop, is to have abundance regarding money. And this flow of the money, and money has an energy that it's about shared life. I'm buying some food that I don't have at home. You prepare for me, and then we are sharing this food in some way. Your preparation of the products and my lunch, and we are sharing this. Yeah, and in money, it's a symbol of our sharing. And my understanding nowadays about the abundance is when I'm offering something that in this moment is needed for my community. Doesn't matter if it's in my neighborhood, it's in my country, or it's in my area of professional development. It's needed. And what I'm doing, it's good enough. And I put in my true doing this. Then there is these aspects. Yeah, it's needed. I put in my true, it's good enough. And then thinking about money, this investment, it's my life investment, be returned money. And then I can have the sense that abundance, because it's not only about if you have a sense of how much your hour applied in your work value. Is not about only this hour, but everything around your thoughts, the preparation,
Yes.
the studies, decades ago.
Yeah, and abundance isn't about being rich. There's a difference.
No, it's about, and it's a subject concept, because at this moment, I'm earning more than is needed at this moment. In another moment, could be not.
Yes. Which is reality.
Yeah, exactly. But the sense of abundance, it's wonderful,
Yes.
because it's about feel part, belonging something bigger. And money has a contribution to maintain the investment in offering it.
Yes. And then so goes the cycle again. Michelle, thank you so much for this conversation. It's been really stimulating. and has definitely opened up my thinking a little bit more. This is a topic that I have been relatively silent on in my own work, but in my private world, it's something I've been thinking about a lot for myself. So, yeah, good to have a public conversation about it, because I think that this is a topic that many people are interested in, but sometimes avoid conversations about. Michelle, what question would you like to ask the next guest?
Okay, if you are a tree, which kind of tree you'd like to be?
Awesome. So if you were a tree, what type of tree would you like to be? Thank you, Michelle.
Muito obrigada, John. Is thank you in Portuguese.
Tamo junto.
Good. We are together.
Thank you for listening. I'm curious about what this conversation has stimulated for you. Thoughts, feelings, curiosity. If this episode intrigued you, hit follow to be notified about new episodes. I know these conversations are valuable to me, and if you think they're valuable too, please leave a review. Leaving a review allows more people to discover the podcast. Scroll down to ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and click write a review. You can also connect with me on Instagram and TikTok by searching the handle @becoming_you__. The links are in the show notes too. You can also visit www.becomingyou.ie to explore the idea of becoming you if you're curious. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.